We have issues with Canada dairy, corn into Mexico. We have issues with energy in Mexico. These are things where our trading partners need to be held accountable, and it's important for the political and economic sustainability of that agreement and our trade relationships with Canada and Mexico that these issues be addressed and be addressed in a timely way.
That's Donald Trump's trade chief detailing some of the trade irritants, as he sees them, standing in the way of Canada avoiding the imposition of American tariffs. An issue, as stated there, that goes beyond the border security concerns Ottawa and the provinces have already moved to address. Here's the Prime Minister talking about that to a gathering of big city mayors in Ottawa.
We will and have committed to jointly tackling the scourge that is fentanyl through the launch of a Canada-U.S. joint strike force, through the appointment of a fentanyl czar here in Canada, but also through the continued implementation of our ambitious $1.3 billion border plan. So this is positive, and it is progress. But at the same time, our work does not take proposed tariffs completely off the table.
Let's bring in the front bench to unpack all of that. Former PEI Premier Robert Giz is here. He's now the president and CEO of the Canadian Telecommunications Association. Former Alberta MLA and Cabinet Minister Gary Mar is with us. He's the president and CEO of the Canada West Foundation, and Globe and Mail senior reporter with the Parliamentary Bureau, Stephanie Levitz, rounds us out tonight. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Happy Thursday. We made it to nearly the end of the week. Rob, I'll start with you. You heard there in both those clips the sort of juxtaposition that Canadians are dealing with, or the two issues, dual issues, one on trade, one on the border. What do you anticipate escaping the permanent application of these tariffs will be about?
Yeah, I think it's a number of things. So one, we need to continue the full court press with the federal government, the premiers, the municipal leaders, find allies in the U.S., find people that the president actually listens to make sure that they're in his ear about how important trade is and how it will hurt the U.S. almost as much as it will hurt Canadians. So I think we need to continue to do that. We cannot slow down on that. I think secondly, and this is what I said to you last time I was here, was we have to make sure that Donald Trump can claim victory, which is what he's doing over this border. And realistically, we made $1.2, $1.3 billion in announcements a few months ago on the border. We added in a couple $100 million and said we're going to appoint a border czar. He's claiming fentanyl czar. So now he's claiming victory on that. Let's let him claim victory on that, and because it's really something that it's hard to argue. Clamping down on drug use and the border is something that I think people generally agree with. So I think if we allow him to have a win, but keep on top of the relationships that we've been building in the U.S. to get into the president's ear.
Steph, what are your thoughts on sort of where the focus lies over the next 30 days? Because it does feel like it has to be kind of dual track. Keep on the border, keep allowing the president to claim wins on that side of things. But you can hear from every confirmation hearing, every big trade official that the president has that there are some, things that basically amount to part of USMCA that they want to negotiate ASAP. What kind of issues does that pose for us?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question of we've hit the pause button on these tariffs, but not the snooze button, right? It's that we can't not talk about them and think, okay, everything will be fine in 30 days. And the trade issue, as you so rightly point out, is the free trade agreement. And so it's up for renegotiation. We know this. We know that Donald Trump wants, the trade deal to sort of be reviewed, let's say, by April 1st to look at where can the U.S. do better. Well, we shouldn't wait for him to come to us on that, right? It's to start to say, is now perhaps not the time to resume those negotiations or to restart, I suppose, those negotiations and get our opening gambit ready so that if trade is the thing, if that's their new shiny object that they want to punish Canada with, well, we do have an agreement on this one. We didn't have a free trade agreement on fentanyl or, we have it now. And this is the vehicle, perhaps, where, Trump was able to claim a win the last time. For him, Canada was able to claim a win on our end. Maybe its trade talks start a lot earlier than that April 1st deadline.
Here's the complicating factor, Gary. In a month, we're going to have a different prime minister. In a month and a few days, there's going to be a different prime minister. And in effect, the government as it exists right now, even down to who occupies what cabinet portfolio, will be, maybe not entirely different, but somewhat different. And then there could be an election very soon thereafter. How does that complicate things?
it certainly does complicate it. I mean, as if there wasn't enough chaos to be dealing with in Washington. All I can say is that it's a good thing that I don't work at the embassy anymore, because, I'd hate to hit send on a briefing note only to have it really out of date by the time I hit send. And increasingly, it's difficult to understand where the line is drawn between what could be satire and what could be the truth. And so I think in the next couple of weeks, the premiers of Canada are going to Washington. There's a COF mission. Robert Giz has been part of COF in the past. And, I think that he's right about trying to reach out to those people that can be our allies. I think that Senator John Thune, who's the majority leader of the Senate, is an important person. I think that Chuck Grassley, who is from Iowa, he is an important person. And I think the reason why they're important is because they actually care about what voters think. Now, I've come to the conclusion that the President of the United States doesn't need voters anymore, and because they've served their purpose, and he doesn't need to rely upon them again. But people like Senator Thune and Senator Grassley, they have important roles in moving forward on the Trump agenda, how he gets things done. And so to the extent that, Canadian premiers are meeting with such individuals, meeting with governors. We know that the National Governors Association is meeting starting, I think, about the 20th of February. Lots of premiers will be coming back for that as well. And we should be thinking about what our response is going to be when the next shoe drops. I mean, you had the president musing about, banks not being able to come into Canada. That's actually not true. But the next thing will be defense. It may be telecoms. There may be a number of different things that the president comes back with threatening tariffs, because tariffs is not just about a trade issue tool for the president. As Ambassador Bolton talked about, it's a whole host of different things. It's about driving industrial strategy in the United States. It's about raising revenue. It's about trying to provide leverage in negotiations on things that are non-trade related. And we've, heard lots about fentanyl and illegal migration as well. So I think that we keep doing what we do in the next 10 days, 2 weeks. We need to have, at the same time, a long-term strategy about how we make our own economy more resilient, dealing with, I've heard more about, things like interprovincial trade barriers, but that is more of a medium to long-term thing, but we need to think about it today.
Right. Well, what's interesting, just picking up on that point, is the evolution of the conversation this week, right? From that 11th hour winning of the reprieve, Rob, to a very quick, I think I said this on air this week, among Canadians writ large, but also the political class, move to think about, how do we escape this level of vulnerability in the future going forward, which has provided this weird world I feel like I'm living in, where all of a sudden people from all different parties who used to oppose, for example, building a pipeline, Energy East, you name it, are now saying, well, maybe we do need to make sure that 95% of our oil doesn't just go to the U.S.
Without a doubt. And I think it reminds me a little bit of 2008 when the recession hit and we started looking for new trading partners around the world to diversify us because, the U.S. was going through such a hard time. And I agree with you. I look at my social feed, which is still mainly people from Prince Edward Island. It is amazing how many people I see posting things with regards to, do you support Energy East? And we know that if we can get our oil to the sea, we can make a lot more money, create a lot more wealth in our country. We all gain from that. But, it takes the right economic opportunity or the right economic necessity to be able to overcome what's been called social acceptability in the past. And I think that there could be a great opportunity here for Canada, short-term, medium-term, long-term, where the economy becomes our focus, new trading partners become our focus, we build things in Canada, we take advantage of our resources while also respecting regulations and the environment. I think we can do it all, and we have everything that the world wants this could be Canada's opportunity to shine based on what's going on here.
Last word to you, Steph. It's interesting because, like I said to Rob, it's not just, Party X or Leader Y who is saying exactly what Rob just said. Literally, Jagmeet Singh was saying it this morning. Premier Legault was saying it earlier this week. The Prime Minister, Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, the Conservatives, like everybody is around the same message. What do you think the chances are, though, it sort of goes beyond meeting this moment?
That is the biggest challenge, I think, for the government. And this summit, I know, that the Prime Minister is hosting tomorrow. Part of the goal of that summit, right, is to figure out how to harness all of this shift in thinking, this social acceptability, and keep it going. Because the challenge is, if you're in the business of building pipelines, today you might be like, well, hey, man, I could get a pipeline built if I could build it tomorrow. But you can't build it tomorrow. Right. And it's going to take years. And so to be able to figure out a way to bottle that spirit that we have right now, if that's what the country decides it wants, and keep it going, that's a big challenge for our political leadership.
I'm going to steal that line, bottle the spirit.